Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another Sunday of When Black Women Gather. Today, we're just going to have a hodgepodge conversation. The focus of the conversation should be about what we might have said to our younger selves, and not just because of what's happening today, but just what would we have said to our younger selves. And if we have some people here who were around in the 60s and can tell us, like, what made you strong? I was talking to a friend last night, and she said she's so angry that we are having to fight for civil rights all over again. So let's just talk, and please, this is an informal conversation. It's not a lot of us on here, so we can just talk openly and honestly about how we feel. You don't need to wait for me to call on you. Just jump in, say what you're feeling. For me, I'm sure I've been one of those people who probably talked about, what I would have, could have, should have done if, in fact, I had lived. And I was born in 1960, so by the time I'm 10 years old, we're in the 70s, and like we were on our way, and white America got scared as hell, I guess. And that's when, well, even before that, right? But so there were definitely some concerted efforts to tear down the achievements and accomplishments in the Black community, which unfortunately were successful in many respects. Um, I was listening to Greg Carr and Karen Hunter, and Greg said something to the effect of, all of us running around here in these t-shirts talking about, Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner. And now, the shit's hitting the fan, right? So what are we going to do? And a lot of people are talking about leaving, and there's merit in that too. Like, do you stay? Do you go? So anybody can just jump in and talk about how you're feeling, or what would you say to your younger self, now that we're here, and not necessarily around the election, just in general, Um, and then, there's some young women on here. So is there anything they want to ask of the elders of us who are here? And,
Some
I definitely
adulting.
want to hear anybody who walked or marched in the civil rights, had anything to do with the civil rights movement. If you could just share what that experience was, that would be great.
I was born in the 50s, and I grew up in the segregation. To me, integration hurt Black people. We When we were segregated, we were very independent of our own. We owned our own businesses, our own. We didn't really look at white people except for the danger. I just remember my relatives going down south, going to funerals of people who had been hung, and they didn't talk. They didn't talk about it in front of us, but we didn't. We didn't have the disrespect that these children have today for the elderly, and when we're trying to tell them something, we sat down and we listened and we watched. And I remember uh, in 1968, the reason that was the other thing that influenced me to come to Vietnam, we had a riot at our school, our high school, over the Vietnam War. And Dr. Martin Luther King was reverend as far as um, don't fight back. But we also love Malcolm X. Malcolm X and I can't think of his name now. He went to Howard. He graduated from Howard. He
Stokely,
was
Stokely
Stokely
Carmichael.
Stokely
Carmichael.
Carmichael. Those were our heroes. Of course, Angela Davis. We were vocal on what we would not accept. Like when the Black Panthers came to Oakland with the weapons, white folks were afraid of us. But that's before cocaine and everything infiltrated our neighborhoods. But the sisters were women. They were strong women, and they did not you would never see a woman tweaking or showing her body. Men did not wear pants off their waist. It's just so many things I've seen change that even us as a people, we have no pride about ourselves anymore. I was looking at some of the old college pictures, photos, how much pride we had in ourselves. It just makes me cry because there would never been a P. Diddy in our neighborhood. His ass would be dead. Because if they found out that he had done something to your child, like what he's done to these children, and like I told you guys, some time ago about Steve Harvey. I said the way that girl was done in Dubai. I said, like I say, I don't brag about it, but I have a lot of family in show business, and they've told me about uh uh these people. My younger self, I would have told my younger self that I was good enough.
Mhm.
But when I was coming up, light skin was disliked. You got your ass beat. I had to fight every day. And I don't know where this concept of where they're talking about uh, how people who are light skinned are better and they think they're brighter in this. I caught hell. I had my hair in braids because my mother kept my hair in braids because my hair was very long and she didn't want me to be beat for having long hair. I
Mhm.
wish to
Wasn't
God they
your
had
hair blonde? Wasn't your hair
my hair.
blonde
I'm a
also?
natural red, yeah, blonde and
Right.
red. So my mother kept my hair braided so the kids would not pick at me. One time they took my hair and they acted as though they wanted me to play uh the tetherball with them. So my cousin had some friends and she had very short hair. I mean, this, but anyway, she braided my hair in the fence and she said, Ellen, come and join us, come and play with us. I got ready to go run and play with them, and my hair was caught in the fence, and my back went all the way back, and they laughed. And I screamed so loud that my mother
Mhm.
heard me, and she came to the fence and unbraided my hair, and she said, "You will never play with these kids again."
Mhm.
We had to live in a cocoon because my mother had 8 kids, and all of us were different complexions, and we all caught hell because at that particular time if you had a lot of children and didn't have a husband,
Mhm.
you were segregated against. You
Mhm.
were you were spoiled. They didn't want to fool with you, so we had to live in low income housing. Because my mother used to lie and say, "Oh, I only have 4 kids,"
Mhm.
and then neighbors would find out, "Oh no, she got 8 kids over there." They would call the landlord.
Mhm.
These niggas would call the white man on my mother, and we would have to move.
Mhm.
I'm telling you about our people and what I grew up with. So now everybody is black is beautiful, blah 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 blah, and and black skin, dark skin is beautiful. How come you didn't say that when I was coming up?
Yeah.
My sister had the kind of hair that you did not have to press. My brother did too, and my other sister. They and they were beat for having what they call good hair. So in my younger self, I didn't know that I was okay. I grew up thinking I was ugly, an
Mm.
ugly child, because I
Oh.
had red hair. I was left-handed. In school, they gave you hell if you called left-handed, and I was put on the end of the row so that I wouldn't interfere with anybody's elbow. Okay, then uh, when I got a boyfriend, the boy only wanted me because it was a bet that who could talk to this light-skinned chick. And I went to 3 high schools and about 13 or 14 elementary schools. And I'm telling you, from LA to Ohio,
Mm.
it was
Mm.
not good to be light skinned.
Mm. Mm.
And so when you grow up like that, and then I was molested twice, once at 7 in church, they
Mm.
did nothing about it.
Mm.
And as a teenager, this boy took me out on a date, and he took all the doorknobs on the inside of the car. He removed the handles, and it was snow and stuck in mud.
Mm.
So when you're young and your self-esteem is very low, and I accepted so many things because I wanted to have a friend, and I found out I was my best friend. I was my own best friend. I didn't need a friend. And my this one girl who I thought was my friend, my hair, like I said, my hair was extremely long. She told me, she said, "Ooh, ooh, long, your hair is so messy and so long. You need to cut your hair like Twiggy." My mother went into the hospital to have my brother, and we couldn't go in the hospital those days. So she told my grandmother to bring us to the window. So I go to the window, my mother's looking down, and she said, "Ellen, what happened to your hair?"
Cut your hair.
I cut it because I thought I was going to be friends with this girl. And she told me that my hair, I had too much hair. She said, "You have too much hair. You have entirely too much hair." And I believed her. So these are things that in my younger years, and like, you know, like I would have never married the men I married had I known from my younger self. And then I must say that my father was killed when I was 5 years old,
Oh.
and I know I would have grown up totally different at that time, because my father was killed in 1957, and I was only 6 years old. So my mother was living in California, and my parents had separated, and I was living in Ohio. And here again, I go to school. My first day of school, I got a white teacher, of course, but she was nicer to me than my classmates were. And as I said, we had so many phobias, and we were so fucking ignorant back in those days about left hand, because people said if you have a child born with the left hand, they possessed with the devil. I heard all that kind of stuff. And so I learned to read early because books were my friend. And I learned to stick to myself. And my auntie, they had a very nice home in Middletown, Ohio. So I did not have to associate with the other children. I always hung around the older people, because the older people, if you listen to them, you can learn a lot of history. And then a lot of what the history that's going on now with this Trump. They had a thousand Trumps when I was growing up, but we didn't have, like I say, we were segregated. We didn't have to look at white people. And then the ones who were nice to us, they were like Lithuanian, they had come into the country. They were from the old country, so they were nice because they had to live among us. So even if they were Italians, Sicilians, you know, so as I
And where were
say,
you at in Ohio? What part of Ohio, Ellen? I
Middletown,
forgot.
Ohio, Middletown.
Where?
We live in Middletown, Ohio. It's near Dayton, Ohio. And then also Fairborn, Ohio. But when you live in the military housing, we lived in segregated military housing. It was worse in Las Vegas, because when I was born, blacks had to live on the west side of town. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why my parents got to know all the entertainers, because they had to live across the street from where we lived, and they lived in the Shell Motel. So my mother, to make money, she used to wash their laundry. She used to wash the men's shirts, the band leaders, the people in the band. Quincy Jones, people, we knew them people
Let me
when we
say
lived.
too that that explains to me Ellen has one of these memory, like anything she reads,
Oh
she
yeah,
retains. She
yeah,
retains
for
it and
sure.
can spit it back at. I'm like, what even? So now I understand because books were your friends. So
Yeah, they
I'm
were my
sorry
friends.
that
Yeah,
I'm sorry that you had those things, but I can attest to the woman that I know that you have become. So I'm sure the little girl Ellen is proud of the woman Ellen. So and
yeah.
somebody put in the chats that if you're not writing a book, you should be. And I know that
Yeah.
you've
I
been.
am. I'm writing my book, but the only thing is, I'm trying to find out who do I get in touch with to publish it. I've written my book, and
Yeah.
it has a lot of things that people would not believe about America that I experienced with my mother being slapped by a white man in Georgia, and we had to
Yeah.
flee. So yeah, I have it. I have written a book.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot of places online, and then we can talk about that later, but there's places online that will guide you towards self-publishing. I actually had lunch with somebody the other day who gave me a copy of her book that she just self-published, so it's very doable. Thank you, Miss
okay,
Ellen. Who
And
else
okay.
Ellen,
wants to talk about whatever you would have said to Charlotte? Are you next? I see you.
I just wanted to say to Ellen, I had wanted to write a children's book, and it was in this forum, a woman mentioned Pink Butterfly and publishing company. And through Pink Butterfly, I was able to self-publish my book.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you might want to follow up with her, but it's very
That was
hard
probably
marketing.
Tessa Frisbee. Was that Tessa Frisbee that you worked with? Do you remember? Was that the name?
No, that definitely wasn't her name. But the person was, in the forum, and she was reading her poetry, and she had just gotten her book published. And then she mentioned the name.
Probably Carolyn June Jackson.
That sounds more like
I'm
it.
good. That sounds familiar.
Right.
Yeah.
So she mentioned Pink Butterfly Publishing, and I was able to went through that. So if
What
Ellen,
did you wanna, what would you have said to to your younger self, Miss Charlotte, if you
well,
don't mind sharing?
no, not at all. One thing is really funny, because I grew up in Newark, and Ellen's story is so radically different in the color story, I guess. But luckily for me, my parents were very militant. So if you were Black and you said to me that I was Black, it was like, okay, I'm talking about in the fourth grade, like, so are you. But at that time, we were all Negroes. So if somebody said, you Black, that was supposed to be a curse word. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you are too. So I had called Chocolate Charlotte. But however, um, the organizations that my parents belonged to, my father having escaped like almost being lynched himself. They
In
had
New
a
Jersey,
very
in New Jersey?
they're from the South. So my perspective was very different. Um, you know, as a Black woman, I do know my niece had problems as a light skinned person, but it was much more prevalent. And I think it is still today when you look at who's pushed in front of us. But as far as my younger self, my father said anyone can lie down and have a baby, but not everyone could go to college. Of course, I was planning my wedding at 18. So if I can talk to my younger self, I would not have ran off and did that. As a matter of fact, I told him, I'm 18 now. I do not need your permission to get married, Daddy.
Mhm.
And I would not, I would told my younger self, go ahead, go to college. Uh, don't do that. He
Mhm.
did show up for my wedding, which he said he wasn't going to do. And he died about 9 months later. Yes. And I was able to go back after having children, darn near being homeless, etc. I was able to go back and get my college degree, and it was in honor of my father.
Yeah,
So
and I'm sure he's proud of Big Charlotte as well.
Mhm.
I'm sure.
thank you. Hard lesson
Yeah,
to learn. And I try
yeah.
to tell my granddaughter and others about, as Ellen said, loving yourself first. And let's try to not keep that repetition going where we end up dependent on someone and then we lose everything. And those children, we're struggling with those children, you know? So,
That's a powerful share. I actually was speaking with some teenagers yesterday, and I was telling them how we don't listen to our parents. And I said, you guys are going to grow up and you're going to say, wow, they were smart. I can still hear myself telling my mom, I make my own mistakes. Like, how stupid is that? Like, why you got to make, I already made the mistake. You got to make them too, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah.
exactly.
Phyllis, I see you smiling. Were you going to share something with us?
Good evening, ladies. I have a question. This is I'm not sure if it's a lighter note or maybe if uh, if you guys watched the Tyson fight on Friday.
No,
Okay,
I read
but you
something online that said he won in 40 seconds. And my girlfriend was like, I don't know where you read that at. That's not what happened at all.
yes,
So what
yes,
happened,
he's
Miss Phyllis?
the 8-year-old going in the ring against a 26 or 27-year-old guy, and it was terrible. But no, he didn't win. But one of the things that came up in an interview, Tyson was interviewed by a young girl, maybe she was like 12, 13,
Mhm.
and she asked him about legacy. And I will drop a link in for everyone to see a little bit later. But my question to you guys is, what do you think about legacy and your accomplishments as you grow older? Do you still have that drive to leave a legacy? And do you believe in legacy? So Tyson, his whole thing was that he doesn't even care about legacy. But I'm just curious to what you guys think about that.
I thought it was interesting. This doesn't answer your question, but I thought it was interesting that he said, I don't believe in legacy, when pretty much when, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're dead, that's it. There's really no legacy, you know? I was surprised by that. I was really surprised by that, you know? Having did what I did, and then my daughters kind of made the same mistake when it came to my granddaughter. Like I was, you know, I stepped in. My daughter, one of them went and she got a degree. The other one didn't like how much I worked, so she was an at-home mom. And as it turned out, the grandchildren were like, okay, you have no hustle. Like you don't have a hustle. Because she was like, so it was like, darn if you do, darn if you don't. When I asked my granddaughter, what was my legacy? It was deflating, Phyllis, because she said, I like the way you travel, Granny. And I wanted something more majestic, you know. But she said, Granny, I like the way you get up and travel. You know, she wasn't going to go to her graduation ceremony for her bachelor's. And then I said, I really wanted to see you graduate. I want to see you walk across the stage. So she told her parents, Granny wants me to walk, so I'm going to walk. And that made me feel as though I had left a legacy, you know, that she did.
If I can jump in here, this is Olive. I wonder whether there is an option. I think one leaves a legacy regardless of whether it's intentional or not. I mean, we live our lives and we make a mark.
That's true.
We do something, whether in our children and our community, it remembers us one way or another. So I think that we ought to be intentional about some aspects of it. And then the rest of it, really, we just live our lives and we weave whatever that fabric is that is left behind, the memories, the things that would motivate our children or grandchildren or a friend or whomever we've touched in one way or another. So to Tyson's question, to the question put to Tyson, that's my way of seeing it.
Do you think legacy matter? And you're absolutely right, Olive. Whether you intend to leave a legacy or not, you live a life and you're going to leave some kind of footprint.
Exactly.
But I don't have children. I would think that people who have children are more focused on what their legacy will be. And I don't know. And I don't have, if somebody wants to speak to that or not. Does that make you more driven to live? Does that make your purpose in life more? Are you more driven by life because you have children as opposed to not having children because you know that people are looking up to you? You look in the face of these children and these grandchildren. You know, I would imagine that's a very empowering thing. But I don't know. Does it matter if you have children or not?
Well, I don't want, I mean, that sounds like a J.D. Vance question. A way J.D. Vance would see it, you know.
Well, he call us childless cat women.
Right, exactly.
I am
No,
childless cat woman and proud.
I think that if all, your own life and all that you contribute, that the legacy is going to be rich, and the number of people empowered and empowered by what you do now, and the legacy of it is of course rich and very important. And I think that one of the things, coming back to the original question, is about they our younger selves, etc. As a younger person, one may not be thinking about that, but as we reflect on our youth, the things that and what guided us and what brought us kind of to our senses, it's always someone older, someone whose biography, not necessarily written, but one that you know of, that kind of helps to shape your thinking in one way or another, whether consciously or subconsciously. And I think as a people, ours is even more critical because our history is lost so often. The written history is so often buried that we have to, I think, make to intentionally shape that legacy, especially in moments like this.
Especially in
May I
moments
ask
like,
Phyllis a question?
go ahead.
Phil- Phyllis, you look pretty young. How do you see your life unfurling right now? Do you have any thoughts about how you're going to make an impact? Or I have kind of a two-part question. That one, and what do you think of the type of stars that we see now representing Black womanhood?
I'm listening, Phyllis.
The two very different questions.
Mhm.
So I
I'll give you
am
that.
34 years old. I recently I was married this year. I don't have any children. Don't want any. It's not ticking or anything like that. So, but I have for a very long time invested in my community and the people around me, and really focused on leaving a legacy outside of having a child per se. But I think where we are right now. So I'm not sure if so seeing Mike Tyson, and I dropped the link in the chat because he was just kind of like, who cares about legacy aside from your kids and your grandkids? And that was just so interesting for me to hear from someone who he has like 6 kids, and you know he definitely has a legacy if he didn't want to or not. Right, but you know there's this sense of wanting to be present and improving your community. And when I think about people who my ancestors, people who have passed on and left a big mark on my life, some of whom were childless, who never had children of their own, but really shaped the community that we lived in. And I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn, a very impoverished community in Brooklyn, largest public housing in the U.S. Surrounding itself. So those people really, I think, legacy means what you do with your community. And I think as a young woman, especially in my childbearing years, where you know they're like, wait, who's gonna miss you and all this other stuff, and I'm kind of like, is that really important? Or you know, so I'm thank you for sharing your different thoughts. So your second question, I believe, was around my feeling around Black woman influencers. Is that,
The
did I get that right?
celebrity.
The celebrities.
The
Okay, so
what's the girl's name? The Fox. What's the child's name? Takes something red. What's her name?
Sexy Red.
Sexy
That
Red.
Sexy
one. Yeah.
Red. We have Meg the Stallion, and here's the thing: each generation has their own. And my era of when I was in my 20s and teens. There was Little Kim and, the songs that was out there. It was kind of like, so these are young women. They are in their 20s. I think Meg Thee Stallion, she just came out with a documentary. Her mom passed Silver like a couple of years ago. We have to have grace for these young influencers. I know they have a big job because so many people are watching them and they are influencing the younger generation. But also they're young too. So
yeah, we won't make you answer for you don't know them. But I hear what you're saying.
yeah, they're young, and we're gonna we're always gonna have something to say about younger generation. And what is it, Sexy Red? Did she have a baby or something like that recently?
I don't know anything about her. I just know that she's lewd and crude and her and actually that was even one of the criticisms of the campaign, that why would they have her, did she perform or something? I don't know. But anyway, that gets us off topic. So I know you're only in your 30s, but what would you say to little Phyllis? You just muted yourself.
What would I say to little Phyllis? Continue to so I'm a little bit different with that just question, because I've always lived a life where I'm like, I'm going to do the best that I can, what I have, and there are no regrets because I did the best what I can at that moment. So I would say to little Phyllis,
Stay the course.
keep doing your thing and love yourself.
Yeah.
March your own, set your own, even if you don't see anyone who is there or is doing it. Never stay in a box, never live in a box. Mm-hmm.
I think that's important because it points back to what Olive said. I think it was Olive or one of the other women. When you're living your life day to day, you never know who you're influencing, right? You never know whose life you've touched by just living to be your fullest self, as you're saying. I remember one of my coworkers died, and there were students who came that she could have never imagined came to her funeral. And my sister died in Indiana in 23, and a young man flew from Jersey to Indiana to talk about how she had influenced the trajectory of his life. So it is important as we go day to day just to live our best lives. We don't generally think of legacy, but I personally, I would have did things the way my dad said. That was the question when we started out, but hey, I've made the best of it. And as you said, I am and keep on keeping on. I'm very happy with how my life has unfolded to this big
Someone
age.
that grow your rainy day fund, build your stash for the years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
See,
May an elder Phyllis speak to a younger Phyllis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go ahead, senior Phyllis. What you want to tell
Okay.
younger Phyllis? And tell
Younger
them how old you
Phyllis,
are if you
first of
don't mind
all,
sharing.
oh, I don't mind. I walked the campus with Stokely Carmichael at Howard University. So I go way back.
Now that's exciting. Talk to us about those days at Howard and Stokely. I mean,
Well, let
wow.
me go back a little further.
Okay.
I was born and raised on the island of Bermuda.
Mm-hmm.
1942. I am 82 this year. I am really feeling good even after the election, because my mentality has always been the best is still around the corner and yet to arrive. There's something very exciting going to happen with this election.
Mhm.
Hold on, just hold
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
Keep talking to us, Miss Phyllis. That's what I need to hear.
Anyway, as I stated, I was born and raised on the island of Bermuda, and we're talking about segregation. We're talking about racism. By 7 and 8, I realized I was going to the Church of England, which some of you may or may not know is British. I would have to attend uh, Sunday school at 3 o'clock because the whites would go at 10 before church.
In Bermuda.
In Bermuda. And so I used to question my parents. My father, what they call biracial now, they called him mulatto. His father was English, married the blackest woman he could find when he arrived in Bermuda following the Boer War, 1899. My father brought me up to believe when you're white, you're right, and when you're black, you're way back. And it was by the grace of my mother who used to counteract that type of talk. So we had to sit up in the balcony to go to matinee on Saturday. And when I was 7, 8, 9, 10. And finally, it was before my time, but my dreams were always quite big. And by 11, I knew I was going to be a teacher. And I had tunnel vision, what they called vision boards. I had visions back then that I would put together. So all of those these days with the vision boards, I had my own. But I was highly encouraged by a principal who was taught in the United States. He came back and opened up a new trend in the school, and he became my mentor, Mr. Albert Jackson. He was my mentor from my teens until he passed 2011. And he encouraged my parents to send me abroad. I didn't look at guys, nothing. My vision was education. Lots of suitors, but they couldn't, no. So on my 16th birthday, I left the island, dream come true number one, and attended school in Ontario, Canada, an all-girls boarding school. There were young ladies from South America, you name it, Mexico, Thailand. It was such a diverse community of girls. And it was there. I do not recall, honest to God, I do not recall receiving any type of feelings of racism or segregation, any of that. And to this day, I'm still affiliated. In fact, planning for the 150th anniversary of that school, 2025 in June. I'm on the planning board. I guess I'm the oldest one there. I don't even ask about age because some of those young snappers don't even understand what we're talking about that transpired in 1958. I was a student there, Phyllis. I was a student there from 1958 to 61. And for some unknown reason, I don't share this often. In 1961, I was elected by the student body and faculty as the first Black May Queen, which is a really big deal on that campus even now. Folk heard about it in Detroit because we're sort of close there in Canada. But I seldom talk about it, but there are loads of pictures that I have. 2 white counselors, my whole coronation was diverse to a certain extent, the little Spanish flower girl and so forth. My mother, she did come up, and my sister for the occasion. And so this is my senior year. In Canada at that time, grade 13 was considered first year university. So I was already finishing first year university at that time, 1961. The Bermuda Department of Education issued me a all expense scholarship to London. Okay, I'm still into education. I did not like the curriculum. So I declined on my own. I didn't consult with parents, nothing. I guess there's always been a free spirit. So as a result, I go home, and my father stated to me, since you declined the scholarship, I do not have one red penny for you to go anywhere. And with my view on life, okay, that's just another little down in the valley. The next day, the same principal called me and asked if I would like to be a part of the school system there. And so I did. I accepted. And as a result, I saved every red penny plus for a year, applied to Howard University because I felt I needed that diversity from Canada. And this is just an aside. I was wanting to come to the first March on Washington in 1963. And my father had already told me, you are too militant. Now he's going to put in his 2 cents. You're too militant, and I'm not going to allow you to go. Something may happen to you. So, okay, I listened on the radio. There was no such thing as a television televising the civil rights. My ear was to that radio all day. He couldn't do anything about that. I participated anyway. I left within the week, and my world at Howard University began. Ironically, I can relate very much to, who was it, Alan, who was in Vietnam? Yeah, Alan. I too am fair-skinned. I never understood colorism, as they call it now. I never understood and still don't to a certain extent. My mother, bless her heart, taught me to love people from the heart because they come in all shades. And that's exactly what my life has been. But following in my sophomore year, I had a call from my sister that my mother had cancer and I needed to come home. And I declined that. My goal was to graduate before she passed. So I took philosophy during summer school and went home after the summer session at Howard. In the meantime, folk like Dr. Martin Luther King would be seen on campus. I remember going to the student union and sitting less than 6 feet from his podium and not having any type of technology. I tore a page from my Phyllis address book. That was my technology. And he autographed, and which I still have, and I often share during Black History Month to the students in this area. Okay, long story short, I would see Stokely in his tall black military boots running across campus while everyone else there in the schoolyard. You know what I'm talking about for those of you who have attended.
In the yard, yeah.
The yard. He was a philosophy major. Friday afternoons, you would see him there promoting, the Black Power, and the fists would be going up and you name it. So following summer school, I went home that Friday. That Saturday, my father was really, really upset over my mother's diagnosis with cancer. And so we talked about it, and just my father and I. And then that Sunday, following church, we always had a sit-down family dinner, always had a big dinner on Sunday. And we talked from everything with my father at that time. We talked about racism. We talked about the blacks and the whites. And, we were called colored at that time, or Negro. I've been through the whole ram, colored, Negro, black. And I'm not an African American. I still maintain my British passport. I've been in America for over 60 years as a resident, US resident. Only thing that I've been deprived is the right to vote. But I sure have been very actively involved in politics. I made sure I housed students who came to Virginia to make sure Obama was reelected from July to November. So taking folk to the poll. In the early mornings, they say, okay, all the voters, pollers, come on in and vote now. And I would go in one door and come out the other because they didn't know whether I could vote or not. But anyway, there I was. That Sunday following dinner, we had anyway. I remember my father listening to the radio just before 11 o'clock. The 11 o'clock news used to come on the radio. Before 12, he had died of a massive heart attack. So here I am. They're wondering, how am I going to get back to school? This is my siblings. Because, there was a slight, I feel and felt, jealousy that I was so determined in going to school. Nonetheless, I did return to school. He died in August and I was back in school. No money, no funds, but I was one of the student workers with what they now call the Head Start program that still survived under Johnson's War on Poverty. For you youngsters who not quite, I was in DC during the Johnson years, Lucy and whomever. And so I was assigned to the Head Start pilot study. And I would go out into the streets of Washington, DC, and pick up 30 youngsters who were in the pilot study every morning. So unbeknown to my siblings, my mother knew I had a check waiting for me back in Washington, D.C. And so I told her I was going down to the travel agency whom I knew, and I was going to ask, that's how bold I've always been, ask for a ticket in advance and I would send the cost. But no, my mother did come through. I came back to campus. And my goal then was to finish university before she passed. Almost made it. She passed 6 weeks before the Centennial graduation in 1967. She died that March, and it took me a while. I finished most of my classes. I was short of 9 hours. So the purpose there, I knew she was still shining down. So those years in DC, I was there when President Kennedy was shot. I was sitting in Founders Library. I was there when his brother, other Kennedy was shot. And I was also there when Dr. Martin Luther King was shot. I remained in Washington, D.C. The thing that, in retrospect, with the death of my parents, I'm grateful that I was able to spend a year behind in Bermuda. Uh, I believe that a higher power is in all of our experiences. And so as a result, I was supposed to stay in Bermuda to be with them from 1960, what, 62, until I went to Howard. And so here I am. You talk about really having the faith of a mustard seed. My mother taught me that parable when I was 6. And so here I am on the campus and going to Founders University. And there I always spoke with the librarian. And she saw me, she said, "Come over, Phyllis." And she knew I knew what she would say. She said, "What are you going to do, Phyllis?" Meaning, where are you? What are you going to do? And I said, I haven't quite figured it out yet. And she put her elbows down and she said, "Would you like to work here for a year in Founders Library? I'm going on a sabbatical." So I have always carried my mother's mustard seed that was a necklace. And as a result of that, I was able to get on my feet by working at Founders. And oh, how I reminisce when I saw our vice president come out to last week. The Founders Library was facing us. So um, what would I say to my little self now, Phyllis? Uh, you know, I strongly believe the journey that we have is already there for us. And if we listen within, we will find the way. I'm a strong believer in being very quiet, which I have been today, very silent. And I just haven't given up on what the future has. I really haven't. Uh, I don't know if I'm voicing too much, and as I said, I'm not a citizen. But there has to be some way that all of this comes to some type of mutation. And with that, I am feeling if perchance the vice president may have come through last week, I think we would be in a holy shit. I think they would have rose up and caught fire. And I live in Virginia. And I did not go out for a couple of days, but the air and the privilege that some of them have slamming doors when you try to get into the grocery stores. That that is to me a sign that what happened and transpired is something in the making. I'm not quite sure, but there is hope in that it could have been the Civil War all over last Wednesday, Thursday. So how do we regroup? We have to go back, and I don't know, it's going to have to be a different means because of technology. There are certain aspects in 2024 that we did not have when King used to march and sing and suppress, no problem. That's okay. That's it. So
That was so powerful. I will admit that I'm biased just because I shared your Howard roots. Um, and there are so many, as you were talking, I was thinking of how much legacy we have at Howard that, and I know Gloria is Howard, Karen is Howard. I'm not sure who else on here went to Howard. But I think everybody knows that, during the 60s, Howard
was
was
powerful.
focal center of the civil rights movement.
The Rankin's Chapel would be always full of civil rights workers and speakers on Sunday. And so I'm going to stop there because I've taught for 50 years. And that's a history all in itself with racism, you name it. I more or less have been through it or moved through it. And as a result, I've taught from pre-K to higher ed, and I continue to tutor. So, you know what, Phyllis, you have a whole big decades and decades of hope. Hang in there. And I'm going to stop with Howard at this point. Let someone else speak.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I have to say that both of you Phyllises are very special to me. I had the honor of meeting Senior Phyllis when I did my recent road trip, Southern trip. And she heard I was in Virginia. She was like, "Oh, we have to meet." And she was as gracious then as she has been on this call tonight. And Junior Phyllis was my student, and now I don't know. I call her Minty, but she's like a little daughter or something for me. I just think the world of her. And she is very confident. And I would think that um, that she would share the passion of Elder Phyllis. Am I right, little Phyllis? You're muted, babe.
She's muted.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm gonna get some work done in the house, but thank you so much, Phyllis.
I'd like to make a comment.
Please do.
I'm sorry about the, I'm sorry, because you'll call me crazy. I'm sorry about the, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry about the phone. I don't know how to make it stop. But anyway.
We can't hear it anyway. Don't worry.
Oh, good. I have 10 Republican friends, and I am proud of them, including a next door neighbor who waves the flag and has the gun collection and lives on Fox News. This Republican friend down the street, I call her my white widow Republican neighbor. And we go out to dinner every Sunday because we're both widows. And I enjoy her company, and I think she enjoys mine. We have to skirt around politics sometimes. The things that she says are so off the chain, I can't believe it. But that's all I wanted to say. I am going out with my white Republican widow neighbor for dinner in a little while. And you see me smiling. It gives me such a thrill to be friends with these people and the crazy stuff they say. And two of them are African-American. One is a woman and one is a man. And my goal is to love thy neighbor as thyself. That's what I'm working on. So, what kind of reaction am I getting? Yes, and I do not agree with anything they say, and I don't know how to talk back to them. So I tell them I can't think quickly on my feet, but I disagree with everything you're saying, and I do mean everything. And I said, you sound like you listen to a certain television station. And I believe that if I listen to it every day for a week, I would soon agree with them. I've asked my friends, my Black friends who are not Republican, try 2 minutes of Fox News, and they all go, and it's really hard, but sometimes you need to know what the other side is saying or thinking. Okay, so that's my contribution. I'm going out with my white, widowed, Republican neighbor friend soon.
And I say kudos to you for being able to separate.
Yes.
Do you guys know Martin Luther King was a Republican?
Well, we're talking a different time.
Yeah, different time.
He's a Republican.
A lot Black people were Republicans a long time ago, as we know.
Because of the South. Because of the South.
Lost the party.
But the Republicans of today are the Dixiecrats of yesterday.
The Blue Dog Democrats. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a blue dog Democrat. It's a Democrat. It's a Republican who lives in a Democratic district.
Yeah. There are blue dog Democrats, and it's important.
Well, that's what we call them. But
I know.
Have you ever heard anybody talk about a red dog Democrat? No, that's just nonsense. They're look at what's the guy in West Virginia, what's his name? Mansfield?
Manson.
Manchin. He's a Republican. Everything about him says he's a Republican. He lives in West Virginia, so he carries the blue flag. But nothing about his politics, his demeanor, his decisions. Yeah, he's a Republican that lives in Democratic state. But Rachel,
he's actually helping get some judges through in this lame duck session, though. So thanks to that.
Yeah, I don't know. Rachel, did you want to say, what would you say to your younger self?
I would say, I don't know if this has to do with race or not, but I went to an I'm like the other lady, the other Phyllis, I'm almost your age, baby. I went to a segregated school all the way through college, and it was heaven. But I would say to my younger self, the people that you think are so hip and cool are not. And that you, Rachel, are good enough just the way you are, whether your clothes match, whether your ideas match. I couldn't dance very well. Even that is okay. And I want to tell them, Rachel, wait until the 20th high school reunion and go back and check out the hip and cool people. You will be surprised.
That's true.
You'll be glad you were a nerd.
Yes. Or just out of it, just not where you wanted. And I always wanted to belong. I always did, you know.
I think most young people want to belong, and sometimes for all the wrong reasons. And
Yes.
It's hard when you're on the outside looking in. Sheridan, did you want to jump in there? I see you popped in.
Well, it's so funny because I put together a women's retreat. We call ourselves the Phenomenal Women, and we meet every year for a weekend at the beach. And I started 4 years ago, and I put together white and Black women to come together initially to just have some serious conversation in a safe space, and then it continued. And so we just finished our retreat in November. First weekend in November, it really went well. We dealt with inner peace. But one of the assignments was to write a letter to your 20-something-year-old self.
Oh, wow.
So Sunday morning, we sat around after breakfast and we read our letters to each other. So I'm going to pick out a couple of things that I said to myself or my 20-something-year-old self. First of all, I said, never again rub baby oil on your body and then lay in the sun to get tanned. That damages your sun, and you won't see the damage until you reach 60 years old. That's stupid thing I did. Listen closely and carefully to what your romantic partners say. Take what they say at face value and cut romantic relationships sooner than later. Freeze your eggs for when you are ready to have children in your 30s. Don't be so fearful about disappointing your parents and your family and your community with your mistakes. You will not fall from grace. Don't be so hard on yourself. Spend time speaking with your mother about sex, love, and marriage. She's a more valuable resource than you realize, and you should take full advantage of her vast knowledge and wisdom. Others do, so you ought to as well. Be more forgiving and offer more grace to others. And most of all, forgive yourself. I said, don't let anyone dampen your spirit. Let your light continually shine. And finally, continue to pave the way for younger Black women and fight for social and racial justice.
That was beautiful.
Those are my advice to my 20-something-year-old self. I just happen to have had the letter.
What was that part about your parents? Can you tell us that part again? That really got me.
Oh, I said, hold on a second. Your mother, something about my mom here. Spend time speaking to your mother about sex, love, and marriage. She's a more valuable resource than you realize, and you should take full advantage of her vast knowledge and wisdom. Others do, so you ought to as well.
There was one part about disappointing your parents.
Don't be so fearful about disappointing your parents and your family and your community with your mistakes. You will not fall from grace. I was a church girl, and I grew up in the church. I taught Sunday school, and I was one of those goody girls. And they're so fearful that you're going to embarrass your family by anything you do. I just didn't do so many things I wanted to do because I couldn't, embarrass my parents and embarrass my family, embarrass my church community. So I just kept that. So
It
I
served
love
you
that.
well too, didn't it?
well, yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Right.
I love everything you just said.
Yeah. But in college, I kept seeing all the girls having all that fun and doing all kinds of stuff, and I was just like, oh, I'm scared to do all that stuff. But it's okay. I was okay in my 20s.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share what they would say to their younger self? And if not, I'm going to call somebody out. So, Annette, you've already talked, but we have two Annette. So, Annette Warren, what would you have said to your younger self?
Well, I was thinking about that. I wish I had taken more risk. I wish I had went to college. I wish I had worked on my self-esteem. And that's about it so far. Because I've been learning a lot from the other ladies. I've been writing stuff down, which I'm going to use in my next life. But no, that's about it. I wish I believed more in myself and start trying to be a people pleaser. I always wanted people to like me, love me. I always thought if I dressed a certain way, people would like me and respect me. Now, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn now.
And it's liberating.
I'm in my 60s. Yep. I don't care what you think. The only friend I have is me and God. You like me, you don't. I don't care.
What you see is what you get, right?
Yep. I wish I had been that way. If I had learned what I know now in my 20s, I'd be dangerous. I would be dangerous. Now I don't care. I'm not a people pleaser. I take life for what it is and I keep it moving. So that's all I could say if I had known what I know in my 20s.
Right. I think we all can probably think of things, if we had the knowledge that we have now. But you know what? Honestly, wasn't that a part of becoming who we are?
Yeah.
We had to have those experiences of the past. Some of it could we have avoided? Yeah, we had listened to our parents. I said my mother. We could have avoided some of those stumbles, but along the way, it built us to be who we are.
Well, the funny thing about it, oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, Helen.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
The funny thing about it, I didn't have guidance when I was growing up. My mom was always jealous of me because her and my father never got along. And when they separated, okay, everything was thrown at me.
Okay. Were you the only child?
No, I wasn't the only child. I had 2 sisters and 2 brothers. But I could never go to my mom and talk to her. Everything I did, she would put me down. She would have relatives beat up on us. Every time you turn around, we were called stupid. You're never going to be anybody. And now, as I got older, those were her issues. See, I have done a lot when I was growing up. I didn't get pregnant. I didn't get no drugs, everything. I did a lot. And she was jealous because when she was my age, at 18, she was a mom. And every time I did something to try to grow and move, grow in life, she will always put me down. But I could never understand that until I got older. And I said, those were her issues. Now I have to heal myself and let the past go. And that's a lot of things I see as we get older. we learn from my parents, and we
Yeah.
take all that guilt and everything we went through. So now I'm just working on myself. I'm working on myself, and I have finally accepted it. I would say about 10 years ago. There was nothing ever wrong with me. I said there was nothing ever wrong with me. She had hatred for herself, and she inflicted it on her children. And I learned that 10 years ago.
Can you forgive her?
Yes, I have. I mean, she's resting in heaven, and everything she has done to me, I still loved her, and I was still there for a daughter. And when she got sick and they told me they wanted to put her in the nursing home, I said to the doctor, I said, oh, hell to the no. I said, that's my mother. And even though I took her in, you can't believe what I went through. When I used to go out shopping for her, she used to call the family and say how mean and rude and nasty I was, but that was never true. And the family turned on me. But after all those years, they realized that wasn't true. She fed them all that garbage. And I just reconnected with my family almost 20 years ago because of that. And I said, I never, never, ever, ever mistreated my mom. And she used to feed them garbage. I mean, it's just like, how can a parent do that? But she used to feed them garbage. She used to tell them how nasty I was, how rude I was, but that was never true. But I know that eventually everything will come to the surface. And everybody realized it wasn't true. And now the family, now we got closer, and they was like, oh my God, I didn't know that. I said, you think I would do that to mom? But when she passed, trust me, I gave her the best funeral she ever had.
Arnett?
Yes.
It's possible what it's called is generational trauma. And generational trauma, she's doing to you what was done unto her. And the best way you can further that is to seek some type of Black therapy to help you to move through it, although she has now passed.
No, I have been doing, thank you. I have been in therapy. Over the years, like I said, 10 years ago, I realized it was never me. It was something with her. And what I found out, I would say the last 3 to 4 years, is that her mom left them and moved to Philadelphia and started a new family.
Wow.
She was a baby, and it was like, and I was sitting there listening to my cousins, everything. I was like, what? Wow, now everything makes sense. Wow. But I carried that for about 20 years.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for 20 years, I carried that like, I wish I was a better daughter. But it wasn't never me. And I look back, yes, I was a better daughter to her. As much hatred and stuff she threw at me, I was always there for her.
Wow.
But no, over the years, I've been in therapy. It has helped me. And that's why I am where I'm at today. I don't give a damn what anybody says or whatever, because I said everybody has a story to tell.
Oh, everybody has a story.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
thank you, ladies.
And trust and believe you're not alone. Somebody
Now, I
else
have a
can.
question. Someone mentioned generational what?
Trauma.
Generational trauma coming down.
Wow,
from
generational
one.
trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Pass it on. Passing
But
it
no,
on.
that makes sense.
Helen, could you tell her about the book that Joy Joy DeGruy?
Oh, post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chats. Dr. Joy DeGruy wrote a book, and she talks about how the generational trauma, but she takes it all the way back to slavery. So it's
Wow.
PTSD, post-traumatic slave syndrome. I don't know what I just said, but post-traumatic slave syndrome is the name of her book, and it's definitely worth reading. So I will put it in the chats.
Oh, thanks. I'm definitely going to read that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you know what, and I know for a fact, not that I know for a fact that the PDF is online. The entire book is online.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, because I
Wow.
just did a presentation. Let me tell you all real quick. Last week I did a presentation in um, I had signed up, and me and three other women signed up to do a presentation at the SHRM conference, and SHRM is the Society of Human Resource Managers, and the topic was working while Black. So
Oh, God.
when I made the, yeah, and I say this because it talks about how Black people are traumatized in the workplace, and a lot of our illnesses are stress related. So diabetes, hypertension, heart conditions, all, and even drug abuse and alcoholism. All those things stem from somewhere in stress, and we spend so much of our day in the workforce. So anyway, when I made the pitch to Sherm, the young man suggested, he said, "Oh, that's a good idea. And, we can include the LGBTQ community." I said, "No, no, that's not the conversation I'm looking to have. I'm looking to have a conversation about Black people." And much to my amazement, and I explained to him that because what happens is, when we bring in other communities, LGBTQ, white women, people of color, diversity, multiculturalism, all those things are buzzwords that move us away from the conversation about Black, whatever the Black experience may be. But for the civil rights and the fights, what have you, and the gains of the Black community, we're not having any of these other discussions. So we needed to have this discussion about Black folks specifically. And they got 700 submissions. They only accepted 90. Ours was one of them. And they didn't even change it. They allowed us to have this conversation. So fast forward, here we are in Denver. And first you're thinking, why? Who scheduled this thing during election week, right? And then we are scheduled to go on the day after the election. And you're thinking, I don't know how this is gonna go. What's the mood gonna be like? But the show must go on. And I tell you, I was just all over the place because ideally I wanted to be alone. But I didn't know if we would walk into a room that was packed or a room that was, maybe I knew the topic was appealing to folks, particularly Black folks. Can I tell y'all that this room held, from what I'm being told, 300 people? It was standing room only.
Oh,
It was 90,
Wow.
yeah. It
good.
was like 95 to 96% Black folks. And it couldn't have been at a better time if we had to be during that week, because it's the day after. And like I said earlier, I call it the verdict on America. Yeah, I don't call it the election results. It's a verdict on America. But it was a place, like we needed that. We needed to come together as one in a place where we didn't have to, you could, it was the unspoken. So the way that I opened it up, because I'm like, okay, we got to have a serious icebreaker here. And I said, all right, y'all, we are not going to church, but we need to loosen it up a little bit here. And then I said, I said, God is good. I said, we're going to do a call and response. And I said, God is good. And of course, they said all the time. And then we said all the time, right. And then I went from there to bring it, because I wanted y'all, I wanted them to know that we're talking to each other today. And maybe other people in the room didn't know what that meant, but every Black person in the room did. And they laughed. And then I said, I think the next call and response that I did was, oh, how many of us can gather in one place in the workplace before there's too many? So people start shouting out 2, 3, like in the audience, And so that was our call and response, and it opened it up really well. And I did 2 or 3 or more of those. And then as I was introducing the women who were on the panel with me, I explained that we had all met at this very same conference last year. And that anybody knows me, I was collecting, if you were Black, I was getting your business card. And I formed this group called Sherm Noir, and we would meet online, just Black folks from the Sherm Convention. And then the 4 of us stuck it out, and there we were on that stage to host that conversation. So then I said, so make sure you turn to your neighbor and make sure you know who they are. Well, you know your people. They really thought they were in church at that point. And then, we had to bring, all right, y'all, come back. But I just want to say that it was without ever being spoken at some point. So here's the other deal too, right? So we have an hour, on the stage in the main room to have this conversation. And then they had deep dive rooms for if the conversation got really heavy, you could continue the conversation in another area because, there was another presentation about to happen in the room that we were in. Can I tell you, those Black people stayed for another 2 hours, y'all.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it says to you a lot of things. It says that, one, it's a necessary conversation that needed to happen. It says that, people, I wanted people to recognize that you're not alone. You're not alone in what's happening to you in the workplace. And more importantly, there's nothing wrong with you. Don't go second guessing yourself. Don't second guess your skill set. And we need to really think about how long do we stay in these environments that debilitate us, emotionally, physically, what have you. And not to say that everybody can walk away. And I hope that, we talked about different alternatives, but we need to protect our physical and emotional health in these situations.
And mental.
Yeah, all of it. And for the young people who are on this call, recognize that there's no relationship, there's no job, there's no nothing that's worth your health. If you're waking up on Friday morning and dreading Monday, reinvent yourself. Do something else. It's not worth it. My mother died from cancer, and I'm sure everybody on this call has somebody who died from something that's stress related, or I don't say died, but just been diagnosed with something stress related. And we have to take control of that which we can. And on that note, let me say that starting I think that as Black women, we find strength in one another. And at this time, we really need to come together as as we did at that conference. So starting this Wednesday, y'all can be with me. I think this is good. Keeping in mind with working while Black and just dealing with what we're dealing with right now. And I love Phyllis McCann, Senior Phyllis, for telling us, to hold strong and that she sees light at the end of this tunnel. I will share that another friend of mine who's an older gentleman, he said, girl, when people are this stupid and, he said they're going to turn on each other and all we need to do is sit back and just watch. He said, there's no way. So I don't know. But yeah, and that's probably true, but how many casualties will there be along the way? But that being said, this Wednesday at 6 a.m., y'all, I'm going to start hosting a 15, 20-minute call just for us to come together and be led in a mindfulness activity, whether that's yoga or meditation or breathing exercises. And whenever I've had someone on who leads us in those activities, it's a very grounding moment. So I figure Wednesday is a good time because it's the middle of the week and you're almost halfway there, you can get through it. And I think just to be able to come together in a place of peacefulness and togetherness with Black women is just a good thing. So and I don't know how I'm like, okay, so California people are not getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do a mindful So, do we do it again at 6 a.m., at 9 a.m. for the California people? So I don't know, but Sharon, who has done yoga with us on another occasion, will lead us in an exercise on Wednesday. And, I know nothing about doing these exercises. So if you do, or if you know somebody who does, please let them, ask them to join us on, Wednesday morning. So we'll do whatever that exercise is. We'll have a word of affirmation, or we'll share some piece of Black history, and that's it. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, go on with your day. How does that sound to you all? Like something that you would do, or no?
No, I like it. Do we use the same link we have now?
Actually, what I will do for that one, because this link here every week changes, I will create a permanent link so that whoever wants to sign in at 6 a.m. on Wednesday, do your thing. It will be there for you. Miss Levine, I see you saying it's okay with you. You're muted.
Yes, absolutely, yes. And I just feel so blessed that I was able to slow down for a minute and see the email that you sent out for this session here today, because I just ended last night. I've been working 3 part-time jobs. And so this is the first Sunday that I had some time to be able to, just relax and connect. And this has just been wonderful. So thank you. I did have one quick question. For your SHRM presentation, did they record your initial session?
So yes, they did. They have not released it to the public as yet, but I have been sharing it with people.
Okay.
And if you're interested, I've been sharing it with people and giving you my password so that you can sign in and listen to it. And the feedback has just been wonderful, y'all. I'm telling you, so good that, as we were there, people were, the SHRM people were letting us know that they had heard nothing but positive things. And I am positive that it was one of, if not the most well attended of the breakout sessions. Yeah, so it was really good. But yeah, if you email me, I'll share it with you if you want to listen to it. Phyllis, I don't know why I didn't send it to you.
Miss
But
Nikki,
yeah,
I'll remind you.
I'm impressed that that went over, because Denver was one of those sundown towns. It was very segregated. I remember going to Denver in 19. That's before they dynamited the mountain, and now you can drive differently. But there was a time at McDonald's. I think it was McDonald's. It was segregated. This is in the 60s. Blacks had to go on one side and whites had to go on the other side just to get a hamburger.
yeah, well, this was at, first of all, I think when we, and back to what we were talking about originally, when I look at the, United, first of all, I'm in Florida, so I got a lot of questions to
Oh
decide,
boy.
like, do I stay here, right? And my gut says, nope, get the hell out. But where do I go? Do I go to another state? Do I leave the country? Like, what do I do next? I'm not sure. But when I think of safe places to go, domestically, you're probably talking California. Gloria, I don't know if you can chime in on that. California seems like a safe place. You have Gavin Newsom, who is at least saying, not here. Um, Jersey, I could go home. But even though,
Yes, come
Jersey,
home.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, you can come home.
That's right. Come home, baby. Come home.
Oh
But
Lord.
what's there, Alice? What is in Jersey? What
Delaware
opportunities
is
do you
fine.
have in New Jersey?
Delaware
I
is
think
fine. Northern Delaware
yeah,
is fine.
Yeah, Delaware is.
somebody
I would
just
choose Delaware over New Jersey. No.
that's what Camille said. She left Florida and she went down to Delaware, and the peacefulness that she found there was
Yeah, I
yeah,
like
very
Delaware
telling.
better. Delaware is over New Jersey. I didn't. My sister was born in Newark, New Jersey, and I remember at the time when we lived there, you had to pull you could put your clothes on the clothesline, and you pulled your clothes in on those pulley clotheslines. And we had a cousin who was she was a heroin addict, but she was a heroin addict functionally. She went to work every day, but the guy who brought her drugs would come every morning. I mean, it was just like getting coffee. And we lived on Howard Avenue in Newark. I don't know if it's still there or not, but that was the most raggediest place I ever saw in my, well, one of the.
Leave New Jersey alone. You hear who's on here not defending?
No,
Wait a minute, Charlotte, you're
Helen,
not
this is my
defending
theory.
Newark.
This is my theory. If I have to be broke, I cannot be cold and broke. I gotta live somewhere where the sun shines. I can't. No, I cannot be cold and broke. I'm sorry. That's why I left Ohio.
I ain't
No,
mad
I
at
was
you. I ain't mad at
just
you.
talking about things that you've
more
done for the
intellectual.
community. I was on the voting squad in 1971 to help elect Ken Gibson to try to make changes in Newark, which was then run by the Italians, and we've come full
That's
circle.
right.
And Imamu Baraka, Raj Baraka's father, was the one that pulled us together to help make that change. Now his son is mayor, and part of the Italian North Ward squad is still in control of the county. So very interesting.
Wow.
Wow. I see some new names on here. I'm going to call on you, Dia Hodnet. Did you want to share anything today, and where are you zooming in from, Dia? Dia. Okay, I'm going to guess that Dia is no longer with us. Somebody who just has Fs. I don't know. Who is Fs? Is there anything that you want to share? Fs? Okay, so what I'm actually doing is people who I don't recognize, I'm removing them because I don't know who they are. So if they're not speaking up, I don't know who they are.
Let me, Helen.
Yes, go ahead, Miss Sanchez.
I was hoping she was around. She probably stepped away, but Dia Hodnet, uh, she's a very dear friend of mine. I
I just
invited
I
her.
wish
Was
you
you
moved
wanted
her.
to? I'm so
Sorry, I
what?
wish I had.
No, no
Yeah,
worries. I just realized that because I was hoping like you were, like she would reply, but obviously she probably just away or something.
yeah,
Um,
no,
but
no,
like
I
you,
don't
you said,
usually do
we,
that.
we could spread the word. No,
Yeah,
I know
I'm
that, but just
sorry.
to let you know, I don't want to let it hanging. No, no, you don't have to be. How
Please
could you
tell her
know?
to please come
How
again.
could you?
And I'm sorry. If I had known who, I just don't, sometimes you don't know, we do this. I don't know who people are on these calls. And it's just the time. Yeah, and this whole thing about even doing this, early morning thing, like we create these spaces for us,
Right.
but we really don't know who's in these spaces, honestly. So every now and then I get a little, and I've never done that before, so tell her I apologize for doing that.
No, no worries.
Um,
No
yeah,
worries.
Sister Helen,
thank you,
I'm
Gloria.
letting her know. I'm letting her
Yeah,
Sister
let
know.
her
Helen,
know.
could I go?
I'm sorry.
Sister Helen, could I go?
Please, please,
Oh,
please, Miss Libby.
okay. While you're like going around to see who you could, you know, encourage. Okay, so I had to write a few things down, just a few, just to keep me focused. What I would tell myself, you said the age was 20. Tell ourselves at 20.
Younger
Whenever,
self.
Oh,
whenever.
just our younger self. Okay. I would tell myself, my younger self, to constantly work on building my confidence, regardless of what may come my way and make me doubt that. I would tell myself, don't worry, just keep going, keep building your confidence, do all types of things, try new things, because you'll be successful. Um, do not settle.
Right.
Still believe in what the Delphonics and other groups sang about love, honor, and respect of their women. I really, really believed that at like 13 years old. I was looking so forward to growing up and coming into womanhood because it's not only that I heard those songs. I saw the people, the adults around me, living that. And I was so impressed and just looking forward to coming into womanhood. Um, I I would also tell myself to choose the father of my child wisely. Do not be enamored by a conversation or looks or just what you're feeling may be love, to really allow it to grow so that you could understand what it was and not just to jump in. Never doubt the spirit that will speak to me, and you will have trials, some significant trials, but you will survive. And I think those are the things I would tell myself.
This is beautiful.
Love it.
Very nice.
Very
I
nice.
love your plans, Cass.
Oh,
I have one.
thank you.
I have one. Mine is the one, the tall one that you have. Mine is short. I can't wait till it get tall.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Maybe it's not.
everybody can relate to what you just said. Yeah, and a lot of one of the themes is like, when you're young, you just want to belong. You just want to belong. And
Well said.
yeah, I don't think I suffered from that, honestly, but and a lot of people do. And I always, I don't know if you all remember when, what was his name? Maury Povich. He
Yeah.
used to do those shows, Look at Me Now. And it was just very fascinating or sad almost to me that people who were grown people who carried things that happened to them in elementary school. And now that they've arrived, been successful, or, no longer, now maybe they're skinny where they were fat or they had pimples and now they don't. Like their whole thing was, look at me now. And I thought, wow, how sad that, people carry, and that's why we have to be so careful what we say to one another, particularly young people, because they do carry it. And you just never know what impact we have on other people, good and bad, right? And that's a real deal. So, yeah, this has been great. Miss Sanchez, I know I had Melinda Roscoe, I always call on her and she never talks for me. Melinda, are you there? And Miss Vi with the double I know you got a story to tell. Melinda, Miss Vi. So I won't remove them because they're like regulars. Miss Vi must not be near her laptop because she would share.
Helen,
Melinda.
this is Claudette. Can I go? My phone's doing weird things today. I've been kicked out a bunch of times. Can you hear me?
Melinda, you're next. Go ahead. Yes, we can hear you, Claudette. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, ladies. I'm gonna leave the room so the background noise won't be so bad. When I think back into my 20s, I'm 65 this year, which is a milestone. For me, it feels like it got here pretty damn quick, but there was a lot of living in between the dots. So confidence wasn't an issue. I grew up in a family of 5 with a very large West Indian community. We integrated East Flatbush, New York. My family was the first family to actually own a home in that area. And living through the white people losing their mind because the Black family had the biggest house on the block and them continuing to run one by one, leaving the neighborhood, which became wonderful for me because as they moved out, young Black families moved in and I got friends. So that was an interesting experience coming in to the USA right after Martin Luther King died, not really understanding what that experience was, but recognizing very quickly, having left Jamaica where the community looked like me, what I saw on TV looked like me, making a remark to my mother after a number of programs and saying, where are the Black people? Why am I not seeing anybody that looks like me on TV? And being shy in school because I was speaking with an accent and being taught in the British system, the language was the same in enunciation, but not the same in writing. So getting my papers marked down because I'm spelling things the British way as opposed to the American English. So that took a little bit of my confidence back, and I became shy from being a very outspoken child. But as I grew into junior high school and met other young Black students, started to build my circle and rebuild my confidence. So they started up a tennis program at my junior high school in Brooklyn. And myself and a young Cuban girl decided that we wanted to play tennis. So we went out for the tryouts, and the athletic director lost his mind, because how was he going to tell these two young minority child that we can't participate in the tennis program? So his excuse that he gave us was, you can't share the same locker room. So my friend Maria Mazdu, I'll never forget her name, Maria and myself said, what does locker room have to do with playing tennis? There's a girls' bathroom. We can change there, put on the uniforms. We don't have to do that. So he tried his best. And so he kept telling us all kind of regulations why we couldn't join the tennis team. So that basically created a rebel in me. And whenever I saw injustice or inequality, I always stood up and took the side of the underdog. So that built confidence and increased my confidence growing up. But for a baby boomer, one of the things I want to relate to, I've heard it here, is resilience. I think they talk about other generations being the greatest generation. I think the folks who are born in the 50s, who maybe came up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, we are the most resilient generation.
Yeah.
We've had a constant state of setbacks, whether it was economic, political, or even health and different challenges that we have overcome to still be here. So we are definitely resilient in terms of a people. And one of the things that I have learned, and I have taught my nieces and my goddaughters and the younger people around me, is make yourself flexible enough. Learning is a lifelong process. It doesn't stop. And learn what you have skills in and develop other talents, because you never know when you're going to have to lean in one direction or another. Multiple streams of income. That's what I've learned, because at some point that stream may be blocked up or interrupted or impacted by some unforeseen circumstances that you don't know about. What I wish I had learned how to do better is take the curse off of money. Money is being evil, money is this, money is that. The religion kind of played into that. Instead, I should have adopted a mantra that money gives you choices, and managing money is very important, so you know how to grow it, and so you can leverage it and use it to your best interest. So balance between working hard and playing hard, because everybody deserves some time for rest and respite to rebuild and to be able to get back in the game by choice. And money gives you choices. So I've explained that to my nieces. Travel and have a lot of different experiences, meet different people, learn about different lifestyles, and they're doing that to the max. What I neglected to share with them, that at the same time, when you're making those plans for traveling, whatever money you're spending on traveling, put something in the bank for a rainy day. And that's the lesson I've had to learn. That was a hard lesson I'm learning. Thank you for letting me share.
You are so right. My advice, unsolicited advice that I share with young people is, three things that I would be intentional about if I had life to do again. Not to say that I have regrets, but I would do some things differently. And one, I definitely would have a very different relationship and perspective about money. So for those who taught your children early, what money meant, how to save money, how to make money grow, and just the importance of money. So my mother, being a single woman, raising 5 children, she lived on credit. So her thing was, don't let your credit go bad. And that's what, I probably have a damn near 800 credit score, but I got, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, so be intentional about money. Be intentional about finding love, right? I don't say you gotta get married, but we're not supposed to go through this life. That's what I tell young women. We're not supposed to go through this life being alone. Um, and love is important. So just find that special somebody. I don't regret not having children. I can't even say I regret having not getting married, but I probably should have given more effort to finding serious relationships. And then the other thing is buy yourself a piece of property. Because when you look at even if you don't live on it, like it's yours, nobody can take it. And I could have done all these things, didn't do them. But when you look at what's happening now, and if you don't own your roof over your head, you are so vulnerable because these folks are, I don't know where we're going. But anyway, so just those are the three things that I tell people. Be intentional about love, be responsible and money, and save. How many of us were told, put away, $100 a paycheck. And just think I'll speak for myself, if I had, or I've always lived in very swank apartments, but I never owned them on purpose because I have lived around the country. I've had a great life. Don't shed tears for me. I have lived, and done most of the things that I want to do. But I always felt like I'm moving. I'm not going to be here for long. Like 2, 3 years, I'm out. So I've lived in California. I've lived in San Francisco. I've lived in LA. I've lived in New York. I've lived in Florida 2 times now. I've lives, 6 months in. I've done a lot. Life has been good. But yeah, so that's my thing that I always tell people. Dia, thank you. Is it Dia or Dia? Thank you so much for coming back. I'm so sorry to have booted you out, but Annette told me who you were. Hi.
Hi, I'm sorry about that. Like, it's weird. I couldn't get back in on my laptop at all. I had to dial in from my phone, which is not ideal. I'm sorry about that. I don't have like a good setup to hold it still or anything, so I hope I'm not making nobody nauseous about the motion.
Are you in the States or are you in Cuba?
No, I'm in the States. I'm in New Orleans, actually.
Oh, all right, cool. So you'll have to come again. Thank you so much for coming. And now that and Melinda, I got you, but now that I have you on camera, is there anything you want to share about what you would say to your younger self? And you don't have to if you don't have anything. Yeah.
Let me see. Well, I would say so many things to my younger self. I mean, I would probably say like a whole lot of the same affirmative things that you all have said already on this amazing call. By the way, I'm so grateful to be with y'all. I'm used to having when I lived in Atlanta, I had like a Black women support group on Sundays and stuff, and I really, really, really miss that. That it's just being able to be with us, listen to us, get present with us, get grounded in each other once a week like that. They're just, I don't know, the Black women connecting with each other, there's nothing more valuable to me. That's always been the case. And I guess I would tell my younger self, you on to something, stay with that, like staying close to and support of and relationship with Black women is, I mean, that's the closest you can get to just life force from, God in the universe, on earth. We are really the most valuable thing in our lives and stuff like that. Like nobody knows what we know because you have to walk in our shoes.
That's right.
To know what we know. And for all the hurts that we all experience, we each other hold the medicine for each other, because for everything that we've been through, everything we've been through, there's somebody else who's trying to get on the other side of that. And just seeing us still here and still living or seeing us be able to talk confidently or like talk with some good perspective about something that we once had shame about and stuff like that. There's nothing more healing to another Black woman. Like the way that we can heal out loud and the way we can be like honest and raw with one another, it just gives more people like permission to do the same and all that. So all of that is a big appreciation for you, Helen, for hosting this space, because this is this is a very important gift that you're providing for us to be here together. And I love everybody for being here and for sharing. And what I would say to my younger self is, I would say, okay, kiddo, so here's the thing. Like, oh my God, you are like, just a burst of light. You have so much energy and you want to go and do everything fast. And you want to fix everything you see and you want to help the world and heal the world. But put some of that into loving and healing and helping yourself. And remembering that, like, for all the things that how you can make yourself useful and you can make a contribution and all the things that you can do for others and all the things you can achieve and do in the world, the things that get you, Mario coins and pats on the back and atta girl and, way to be a good one and all of this other coded racist shit that makes us have to overachieve and overdo things as Black women. It's like, I would tell myself, like, no, like, just you, period, is enough. The fact that you exist.
No.
The fact that you exist is enough. The fact that you are on this earth, that you are like living and learning and being an open-hearted, tender, brave, courageous person who, for whatever reason, like feels like they have purpose just to be, like, go with that over all the work so hard and look at all of my honors and look at this and look at that and stuff like that. I mean, it's great, like I like to do stuff, but you don't have to do that just to earn your oxygen on this planet. You don't have to do that. You can live, you can smell the roses, you can be in community with people, and I will also tell my younger self that the rules change with time as you go. Everything is not so black and white. So all the stuff you were told when you were little, like all the ways you gotta be and you gotta do this, gotta do that, all of that strict, fucking tough love, like all that, like, womb of thorns was like birthed through and raised by and stuff. Like, that's not the real rules for real. Like, that's just what people have to tell you to do and how you have to be, because they're trying to keep you safe, because they're trying to walk that fine line between letting you have a little bit of that, of your soul. Like, they're not trying to break your soul so early, but they're also trying to keep you from getting broken out in these streets and what society can do to you and stuff, trying to let you have a little piece of innocence, but also keeping you from having your innocence trampled or taken too soon or in ways that are already familiar to them. Like, so just know that, like, the rules will change. Like, you can lighten up a little, you can lighten up on yourself. And also, to my younger self, I would say it's not possible to overcome oppression through hard work, being good, and trying hard, and not. That's just not how it works. You're going to learn that a lot of the stuff that you're taught when you're little, like, that's the baby version of stuff. So there's like universal laws and like universal truths that are true, but then there's also just the stuff that we get conditioned with. That stuff is conditional and that stuff changes with time. So like, don't like, let your little AUDHD mind know that, you don't got to hold on to that stuff forever. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I would tell myself, I know it may not seem like it, but you actually are in charge of yourself and you own yourself. That's everything. Your intellectual property, your body, your labor, your love, your care, like you own it. And like, I know things are the way that they are here, but when you get out in the world and you get grown and you get to actually make choices, you don't ever want to be around nobody that makes you feel like you got to earn decent treatment. That's Absolutely. Not no lover, no partner, no boss, no friends. Like this might be how it was. Like what you experience, you get to be in charge at some point. And you can just make everything be different. And it does not matter what nobody else thinks. Because the thing is, everybody's been conditioned to see us as a resource, not a full human being. Like people see us as tropes, as patterns, and as not so much as ourselves, but as what their experience of us is. And if they like a particular aspect of that experience, they want more of it. That's not the same as somebody loving you for you. That's not the same as a boss valuing your contribution, and all of that other kind of stuff, So I would say to my younger self, I don't want to, because I feel like, look, I didn't talk this whole time. Now y'all got me started and I'm over here, need to shut up and sit down somewhere. But my final thing I would just say is that, you were born with an inner knowing, what's right and what's wrong. You know what feels right and what doesn't. You know what makes you feel like, oh, that was easy, or that was fun, or like, oh, I like this. And you know what makes you feel like you are hemorrhaging power from the second, like, what makes you feel like you are just losing your vitality, almost like, like a tire with a nail in it. Like, what, so don't make your choices based off of what people are saying or how things are supposed to be. Make your choices in your best interest first, based off of what you understand on the inside to be the truth. Because there are people, places, and things, they're running a pattern that they don't probably even have the ability to stop. And it is one that will, forget about squeezing blood out of turnip. Okay. It'll to the last drop. Okay. Like a scavenger, there won't be nothing left of you. And with nothing left of you, then that's not a life worth living and stuff like that. So those are the kind of things that I would say to myself. I would tell myself, you're doing a very, very great job of always like not standing for people or anybody being bullied in your presence. You are doing a great job of like being a girl's girl of girls. And all of that shit, like, none of that, like, no pageantry, no fucking competition, none of that. Like, there's no true conflict among women if you really, really get down to it. Because it's like, if we ain't competing for resource, attention, favor from men, or we ain't trying to keep ourselves safe, or we ain't operating on autopilot from some
Always
foolishness
something.
that was taught to us.
Right.
If you take all of that stuff off, then
Yeah.
well, we probably dancing or talking or being like,
Yeah,
oh,
that comes with
girl.
age. That's and it goes back to the
So
whole
yeah,
thing,
that's it for me.
trying to be a part of the in crowd, right? Real
Mhm.
quickly, I know Melinda, I don't know, Melinda, I called you out. You don't have to speak if you don't want to, but is there anything that you want to share with us? And Miss Jones, I saw your hand was up. So Melinda, you first.
Right now.
Thank you, Miss Helen. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I don't speak much because when I come to the group, I really listen and take in what it is, the wisdom and knowledge that is being offered in this space. And today is no different. I'm also often multitasking, so that's a part of the reason why. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Melinda Rasco. I live in Brooklyn. I'm 37, Brooklyn, New York. I'm 37, single, unmarried with no children, and I'm a doctoral student. And for me, what I would tell my younger self is that my worth does not have to be dependent on external validation, especially since many people are still learning to not only love, but merely like themselves. So I would remind myself of that daily. I think that that's important for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Alpha, how is the PhD coming? You're feeling closer to the end?
No, not until 2027, but it's coming.
Okay, very good. Yeah, Phyllis is talking to you in the chats.
Stay
Hang
the
in there.
course.
We look forward to your graduation.
Stay the course, Melinda.
Miss Jones, did you want to say something? You're muted. You're muted, Miss Jones.
Yes. Oh,
Hey, wait a minute, Gloria, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate, I'm not going to call you out. But I was talking to, excuse me one second, Miss Jones, and is Claudette gone? I think she's still here. So you Howard folks, I was speaking to Karen in the backdrop, and I think that we need to do something around this with our own HAU organization because there's so much history. And Miss Phyllis McCann, is she still? Phyllis is here. Yeah, Miss Phyllis is here. You just triggered for me that there's so much legacy at Howard, and if we're looking for a place of inspiration or strength, and the civil rights movement, so much of it happened right on Howard's campus, and people like you have such a story to share. So Gloria, stay tuned, and Karen and Claudette, like I think we can pull this off and make it happen.
Well, love you and talk to you soon. Thanks.
All right, my dear. Bye. Miss Jones, go ahead. What were you going to share with us?
oh, I forgot, but I just, for my younger self, I wish I had more confidence when I was younger, like a lot of us. And so instead, I just really worked hard, and I became an overachiever. And so, like little boys, they play team sports and they give them toys that make them rugged and make decisions, and we give us dolls and teacups, and so I don't, we don't, young girls, we didn't have that self-confidence. A lot of us, I mean, some of us do, because I had a colleague, and she was the firstborn, and her dad taught her to be, real confident in everything she did, and she was. But for the young lady who's working for her doctorate, I have a neighbor who just told me a short time ago that because of some of the things I told her about working and getting her doctorate, I helped her a lot. And I don't remember what I told her. So when I talk to her again, I'm going to write them down so maybe I can share that information with you. And the other thing is, I just wanted to know, since Donald Trump has taken up all the air and the oxygen in the room, I haven't heard from Kamala. Can anybody tell me how she's doing? And I haven't even seen her on TV or nothing. Maybe you
I
have.
didn't even watch your concession speech, so I don't know. Can anybody speak to that? Has anybody?
I think she's
I've seen.
traumatized and is healing. So she's staying quiet. Nothing's been coming out, not here in DC anyway.
They showed a picture of her hanging out with her nieces and nephews the weekend of, and just recharging. So I saw that.
She also attended the Veterans Day, laying the wreath with President Biden and First Lady, but she didn't have anything to say, but she was in the pictures there.
I just want him to make her president for a day. That's all.
A lot of people are saying that he should step away for the last 2 months and allow her to complete his term, which would not make what's his face. He would still be he wouldn't be 47 after all, but I don't know. These people are so crazy. I don't know why she would agree to do that, but a lot of people are saying it.
Well, she was president for for about an hour or so. He was under anesthesia, and so she actually was president while he was under anesthesia.
Right.
But yeah, that would be nice. I wonder if
I just want her to have the pen so she can do whatever she wanted to do with it.
She wouldn't. She wouldn't. The Democrats are much too statesmanlike, not recognizing that those days are over. I just shared in the link with you all an article that someone shared on LinkedIn, comparing the experience that Kamala Harris had in her valiant, 100-day run for the office of presidency, and how that translates for us in the workplace, and how we're expected to just be, the cleanup women, the fix-it women, the magical Negro. All that stuff falls on the shoulders of Black women, especially, adding to the trauma. Did anybody else want to share anything before we go? Karen, can I call you out? 336, Brenda, is that you? If it is, just push *6 and you can talk. I don't know if that's you or not. *6 will unmute your phone. Is that you, Brenda? Denise, I know that's you. Miss Vi, I called on you already. Miss Thomas, anything you want to share? Judy, you put something in the chat. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything out loud. Miss Graves, you've been absolutely quiet. Miss Marcella. Annette, you talked before. Hey, is that you, Brenda?
No, this is Shanika Gray.
Oh, on 336, that's Tamika Graves?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, did you want to share something?
Please, could I just have a minute?
Okay.
First of all, I want to just say thank you all so much for this space. I'm a Howard alum as well, so I definitely want to make sure I get in the loop to connect with the ladies from the Howard group. But I am 49, and both my mother and grandmother are deceased. So even at this, I don't know if this is a big age or a little number, I have kind of transitioned to the family matriarch, which just feels so weird and almost surreal at this age. But I love being able to tap in and listen to the conversations and just glean the wisdom from everyone on this call. I don't get in often because I'm a caregiver of 5 relatives.
Wow.
Yeah,
you need to get in. That's a lot.
It is. Just talking to you all is bringing me to tears because some days I feel so overwhelmed, and it is just so heavy. But I thank you all for today because I knew I needed it. When you all talk about what you would have told your younger self, it was freeing to feel like I didn't fail her. I didn't fail myself. Even in feeling like you do all the things right and life still hands you not the things you thought you were worthy and deserving of. It is freeing to hear that I'm not alone in that space. And so I thank you all for the opportunity to be here, to be in this safe space, to learn from you all, to glean from you all. And I'm just so appreciative. I kind of look at you all like the aunties that I don't know. And today I wasn't stationary to get in the call on Zoom, so I just had to call in. But I think the big thing I would tell my younger self, kind of what someone else just said, is that you don't have to earn kindness. You don't have to earn, someone just common courtesy. And I think I always resonated from a space until recently that I had to perform to get the respect and the care and the love. And, I'm finally finding myself in those boundaries to realize, no, I don't have to perform. I don't have to, step outside of who I am. Like, that is my God given right, just dignity and humanity. And if they can't see that in us, then you don't deserve to be in this space with me. And it's taken me a really long time to find that in myself, even with, and when I say the men in my life, not just romantic partners, but my parents, but my stepdad and my step grandfather. And I realized that sometimes we're kind of raised from a very young age that we give, and allow people to take. And we don't know how to ask for help. So I would have told my younger self, learn how to speak up and use your words and say, I need help, or I don't have the capacity to do this. So sometimes it makes me sad that I'm this age and I'm just learning these skills. But going back to, I think earlier someone mentioned Dr. Joy and the post-traumatic slave syndrome, that for so long we couldn't use our words. It was not appropriate. And it was something that, we had to fear speaking up. And so for me, I understand how it seems like some of those things just came to us genetically. And I think even whether we know it or not, just by default of existing in this world, a lot of Black women, we are trauma survivors. And it takes so much work to undo that trauma sometimes, that is our bandwidth. It's like it takes all of our energy just to get up and, fight through the space at work, fight through the space in society. Some of us that work, in religion or ministry, you kind of have to fight some of the patriarchy there. And I never realized how much energy we exert just fighting to exist. And I was like, oh my God, but I just want to say thank you all so much. And I'm so grateful to be in community with you all. I'm going to make this a regular practice for me on Sunday, because I realized just listening to you all, you poured so much into me, and I'm so grateful. So thank you so much. And I will reach out. Should I contact Miss Helen to get to the Howard group, and also for the SHRM presentation?
Okay, you said what's your first name? I heard you say Graves.
Yeah.
Shanika.
Okay.
Shanika Graves. Okay.
Yes,
all right.
ma'am.
So yeah, you have my email. So email me, and I'll and just put
Okay.
HU connection, and I'll make sure that happens. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. Have a great week.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell her that 40, at her age, she said she was 40, 46,
49.
49.
That's a lot of life.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
learn your
Still a
lessons
baby.
early. You're still
Yeah,
very young.
You're
I'm
still very
73.
young.
I'm 70
Very young.
and a caregiver too. So I understand what you're saying. But whatever, in being a caregiver, you got to take some time for yourself. You got to cut out time for yourself.
Yeah.
But I also want to. I thought Ellen was going to go in direction. You saying that you hate that you waited so late in life to learn these lessons, and
right.
People say it to me all the time, and I'm 64. Like, you're so young, and I'm going to say to you that you are so young.
Oh yeah, you're still a baby.
Yeah, you're just fine.
I was
but
just,
you know,
thank you.
and some
I
of
was
those
just,
lessons And some of
Yeah,
those lessons that you have for your younger self are still applicable now, and you can apply
right.
them
Oh, yeah.
to your current life.
I was just looking
Okay.
at some photos of me and Helen. Helen was living in the Bay Area. I think it was like 29 years ago, maybe.
Oh,
Uh,
girl.
yeah.
It was
So,
right after I got out of Howard. So it's nine. I lived in
right,
San Francisco and Oakland between 92 and 94. I didn't
right.
stay long.
Yeah, I was working for Kaiser. So I remember that HBCU picnic thing we did, and that's how I met you. But I've seen you grow, Miss Higgy, from there to here, and you're still only 60 something. And here I am, 73. I'm not up there with Irma yet, but and Miss I forgot her
Fellas.
name, Miss Phyllis.
Fellas.
But yes, but I have much respect for them because I wanted to tell the young lady, you're never. I worked on my doctorate degree. I think I was 60 when I started working on my doctorate degree, maybe 58 going on 60. And they laughed at me and told me that was absurd. Why should I start? I should have started a long time ago. But at that time, when I went for my doctorate degree, I had gone for my doctorate degree when I was in my 20s. But the university I was going to, I let them uh, silence me out because I was totally ignored and I didn't pursue it. But I'm just saying, so many years later, I went
Never too
back.
late.
So it's
It's
never
never
too
too
late.
late.
Never
Never
too
too
late.
late. I didn't go. I went to law school just for those who aren't. I was 43 when I went to law
Yeah.
school. So
Yeah.
Miss Grace, 49, I think you said, is you're still a young chippy.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. I received that. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
lady.
Don't get discouraged.
Nah. So before we sign off, Camille, you've been quiet. You know what? Somebody said to me, Helen, you know you have church on Sunday. Because some Sundays, y'all, I be wanting to go to the beach, but I know that there are women who are looking for me to do this call, and I get something out of it too. Don't get me wrong. But it's days like today when I think that everybody, not everybody, people, like I think people are getting something out of just being in this space. And that's why I want to do these early morning calls so that we can fortify one another to get through, um, to get through the week and get through whatever it is that we have to deal with. Ellen, Phyllis is asking you to drop the pictures of you and I in the chat. I would like to see those pictures too, I think. I'm not sure. Um, but does anybody else want to say anything? Camille, you've been quiet. Where is Tuskegee? Did he go away? Or
Tuskegee is sitting on top of one of my bar stools here, being very patient.
Tuskegee is her bird, everybody, and Tuskegee was on with her earlier, but Tuskegee is left us.
Yeah. There's different ages that I would say different things to myself. Younger, I think one of them, just to focus on one would be, I was raised in New Jersey by a Jamaican mother, went to New Jersey public schools in the 1960s. So I never picked up her Jamaican accent, but I picked up her Jamaican spelling. So I know CJ was talking about that earlier, and my cousins were in Brooklyn. So shout out to the Flatbush and all of that. We moved to Maryland when I was 10 years old. So I had to start a new school in a part of the country with a speech pattern that I had never heard before. And this is 1970. And I truly did not understand a word the Black kids were saying to me. And my schools in New Jersey were all Black. I was back and forth to Brooklyn among the Jamaican community. Everybody talked like me. I could not understand what these kids were saying. Later, I guess we decided to call it, Ebonics and AAVE and other things. I had not heard it before. And I was bullied mercilessly for talking white, acting white. You want to be white. You run white. I flunked gym because I refused to participate. I was just bullied from the age of 10. I actually earned enough credits to graduate high school a year early. So I've never even had any affinity to a high school class, never been to a reunion. I got out of high school early just to escape that. I had a full ride at the University of Maryland. What I would tell myself was that the very thing that I was being beat up and bullied for was the thing that underpinned my entire career, because I went into public speaking, broadcasting, I'm teaching English online now. Throughout my career in the workplace, I was always sought out to write television scripts or narrate this or narrate that or give this presentation. So I would tell myself that, you know, hey, this thing that's bringing you so much pain and separating you from people who look like you is going to be the thing that's going to be your rocket. That's going to be the rocket that sustains you and gives you a lucrative career, and it's going to be your bedrock. So that's what I would tell myself.
I love that. I love that. You know, I was never a bully. I was that person who I bullied one person, and it was so out of character for me that I still feel bad about it. And this is some teenage stuff. But I was always the defender of people who, like, if you were picking on people, I was not going to be on that team with you. Just not something I ever did. And bullying, I think kids learn it from their parents. Yeah, but that's a whole nother subject. So let me see, Miss Marcella, did you want to say something before we sign off?
I just sent you the picture, Miss Iggy, of you and I. And
where'd you send it?
WhatsApp. WhatsApp.
Oh, girl, I don't know how to move it from WhatsApp to here, but okay. Let me look at it though.
How to put it on the. I don't know how to put it on the.
I'll send it to Phyllis. Phyllis knows how to put it on here.
Okay. I don't know how to put it on there. Okay.
Marcella, did you want to say anything before we sign off?
Oh yeah, I just want to say, yeah, I just from my younger self to now, I just wish that I would like, well, did things kind of like on my own instead of listening to my mom. You know, I think I would have been further in life than where I'm at. I'm still in a decent place, but I work hard, running my own business and everything. But I think I would have went further if I um, had my mom like was more involved and instead of like because she knew the qualities that I had, but she kind of like tried to keep me back so I could take care of her. She had a husband and everything, but she always relied on me. And to this day, I take care of her. I built her an apartment on my property, and I take care of her. And because my dad had died earlier, and so she didn't really just really mostly have me that would do anything for her. And so I knew my qualities and my intelligence and stuff like that. Because even when I went to my chiropractor and he asked what kind of work I did, and I told him, he said, no, you should have been an attorney, a lawyer or something. And I just think if my mother wasn't, like could not, wasn't selfish and just kept me for herself, like run off the guys I would date and stuff like that, because she had a plan for, I was her, to take care of her. So I just wish that my mom, and when you're young, you don't know no better. As a child on up, they groom you to, manipulated me into that. So, and even now I have to like set boundaries with her and say, no, look at, I'm tired. Hey, I don't, I need time to myself because she still like, come in and say things because she lives in the back house back there. But she'll still come into the front and this and that, come grab the remote, watching Cowboys. I'm like, you have a TV. I put your two TVs in your house and one outside. She has one in her bedroom and a big TV in her living room. I'm like, so I had to tell her today, I'm not being mean, but hey, I need time to myself. I work 7 days a week now. So I just wish my mom, yeah, I'm working right now. I just wish that I had a mother that didn't like, manipulate me into just taking care of her. She knew my strength. Your mother knows you, your strength, your weakness, and your intelligence, but she kept me back so that way I could take care of her. And that's what I've been doing, taking care of her financially and everything. So I just wish that would have, changed because I would have went further than where I'm at now. Which I am still a decent place. I think I did pretty good considering she kept me. I bought like a couple of homes, 3 homes, built 2 apartments and stuff like that, and still been in business 26 years. but I could have went further, like got more of my degrees and stuff like that. I'm going to school now, from 6 to 9, 9:30 on Wednesdays, and get ready to go back to get my AS and my BA and all that. So I'm working on that right now. But I would have got that earlier, but I had to take care of work 7 days a week, sun up to sundown, trying to provide for my daughter and all that when I went through my divorce and everything. But God has blessed me. I'm comfortable, so I am
Yeah.
blessed. But I knew I would have went further if I didn't have her pulling on me, and
Right.
redirecting me and controlling me and stuff like that. That's about it. But we live and we learn, you
We
know.
do.
But
We
I'm not
do.
bitter. But I'm not bitter at all. I'm not bitter. I've healed from that and all that. But I'm awoke. I know what happened and what's going on, stuff like
Sure.
that.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yep. And yeah. Um, Annette, I know you spoke earlier. Did you want to say something before we sign off? And I see Sonia has signed on, and Josephine, you have
Oh,
said nothing. I didn't know if you wanted to speak, but go ahead, Annette, real quick.
you're talking to this and that.
Yes. You're the only one
All
left. The
right.
other one left us.
Oh, all right. Didn't notice. Well, I dropped it already on the
In the
chat box.
chats.
I am first off so beyond words grateful for the opportunity. Well, to you and whomever else helped you with this safe space together for us to be here. Like my good sister Dia said before, this has been amazing. And the more I listen to you all, I see there is more and more ground where we stand together and things that affect us regardless. I don't know if you recall, probably we shared that when you were in town, um, that there's more that brings us together compared to what keeps us separated. This meeting today is a living example of that, and I'm glad it's been recorded and stuff so it can be used in the future. Moreover, now with all the work that we all need to do, because let me tell you, like, and I'm not trying to go back to this turmoil that just happened on November the 5th, but we cannot forget that this is something that it's not confined to the limits of your homeland. The world totally has seen what happened and the consequences, and it's not only that you cannot see it from afar. Okay, that's their problem. No, it's everybody's problem. Not just
Yeah.
because of what the country in question represents, globally speaking, is the phenomenon per se, the perception of it all, and then bringing it back. I mean, a bit away from that and more down to a personal level. Think about it this way, like you said before. Even I, who do not live there, let's say physically, I can see it. So the same way that I can see it, the rest of the world is watching and coming up to conclusions, embracing themselves. Like, don't doubt it. Like I know plenty of people out there. Everybody is like, OMG, where do we go from here? So it's so of the essence and important that uh, spaces like this exist, and we can keep it together like that. And now, even to an even more personal level, and kind of on the same note, it's like a lot of what you all, regardless of your age group, that have shared here today, so much resonated with me. And I know it's the same for everybody. So again, regardless of your personal contacts and where you live and what the social system is or whatever, as women, as Black people, we have a common fight. That's what I'm saying. Right. So
Right.
this is why I'm so appreciative of this, of listening to you all. It's not just enriching, it's very affirming in the sense of, all right, what I've seen my fight, and as it is, I consider it to be my fight. I can see the mirror of that in other places, meaning in other people. Right. So all that boils down to one thing: this is a common fight. This is a common battleground, and we need more of this. I so much appreciate people like yourself, Helen, and the respectable seniors in the room, as well, sharing your stories from back in the days and all the way back to civil rights movements and stuff. And the one takeaway I have from that, and I confess here, as I have been thinking about in general what's been going on for some time already, but especially what happened a couple of weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, is that where we go from here and what can we do? And I would say, number one, we need to survive. And this is one thing that I would tell my younger self: do everything
Okay.
to survive because you're worth it. You have to because you're worth it, and it's not just about you; it's about other people as well. Um, Going through what was mentioned about the legacy, I agree with someone said it somewhere. The legacy is not like having the purpose to leave behind a no. Legacy is what you build with your everyday life, what you do, and the side of life you decide to walk on. I would say the side of common sense, knowledge, um, goodness, doing good of others. The legacy is not even up to us to write, I would say. It's something that is acknowledged by others looking at you and saying thank you for helping, or oh my gosh, that I never thought of that, thank you for that, or you're giving a hand, and before you know it, well, you have your legacy is right there. So it's I don't see it as something intentional. I see it as the aftermath of the compilation of everything that you've done along your life and how people see it. So I don't see it as much as what we can say, oh, this is my legacy, and put it up on the poster compared to what people can say uh, after that. So yeah, I would tell my younger self, don't be afraid, be strong. Don't believe the BS and gaslighting of other people about yourself. I've heard a lot of stories that tap into that. I was a victim of that myself, being brought down for different reasons, and trying to get rid of the burden of, oh, it's on me, I need to be better, I need to do this, I need to do that, second guessing myself. No. And even when it was good enough, even having other people say, no, that was great, and me inside of my head, no, it is not there yet. So all of this is the trauma that someone else mentioned before. So all of these things that I would, again, uh, all of you have said already, um, pretty much everything that it has been disclosed here today, I would tell my younger self. But more than anything, be self confident, have faith in self, and for those who believe in anything, whatever it is that you believe in, yes, that too, and never give up. Basically, never give up. And it's very good to know that, again, spaces like this exist. They're reliable, they're safe. There's a whole, I mean, around this room, and even that trip, all the ladies that came with you when I met you personally, the potential is beyond, it's just beyond words. The knowledge, the it's like a treasure box of different things that can be used from here on, and do better. So I know that many of us are feel exhausted, tired, um, but it's not. And maybe we saw ourselves by now, like starting to. I mean, those. I'm 51, and maybe I was
You're a
not thinking.
baby.
Yeah, she's a baby.
I was
Another
not thinking
baby.
about right, but I was just already started to think about what's going to be my life in the next one. So let's wind it down a little bit and start out like, no, 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 no. Don't put the double head axe away, the sword, your shield. No, it's not the time for that. Definitely not. It's not. It's not. Yes. So we need to keep healthy, body, mind, soul, but the fire is on, and I think it's worth it. And that's not just about our survival; it's about the survival of the people coming behind us, that in fact require a lot of guidance. Because definitely this new generation, some got a good idea of how things are, but some others are going to find it really, really, really hard to survive the world that is coming. So
yeah, that's the other thing we didn't touch on, and we can talk about that some other time. But
some
when
other
we
time,
talk,
but yeah, right. I'm telling you,
yeah,
it's
but I
it's
don't
gonna
know
be
that we
complicated.
have. I don't know that we always talk about the strength, that we have, and it's in our DNA and all this stuff. I don't know if my generation and the generation before and certainly after me, I'll say no, my mother's generation, so the generations after, I don't know if we have what it takes to survive, y'all.
Yeah.
And we're about to find out.
I would rely. I would rely on people in
I
the
don't know if
room.
we want to.
Honestly,
What'd you say, Phyllis?
kill each other. I said I don't know if we
yeah,
want to. Sick of it,
Yeah.
tired, already did this in 2020. I'm gonna go relax with the other Black woman that voted the right way. And
yeah. Yeah. I think we
Absolutely.
need to sit it out for a little bit, but regroup, recharge, and be ready because it's gonna be tough, and it's again it's gonna be about our survival, but that of the people that we care about, and they're too new to such problems. I go back to the lady, I believe was one of the persons that talked. She said she was raised in the Caribbean, and she was like when she said when I saw what happened, I was like, okay, but this is someone who has lived through it. That's what I'm talking about. Like those who know what the fight or a fight like this is about.
Right.
Of course, it's not that you like it. It's not that. But the impact is different because you know what could come, and you also know how to face it and how to work it. So
Hopefully it's innate,
generations
and we
coming
will.
behind, right?
Right.
The generations coming behind my own, they are like, wait a second, and too much diluted, and modern days lifestyle, the media, and the lack of desire of reading or research and
Right.
on stuff, or just growing interest on things that are substantial, right? So when something like this impacts our, you need to be ready for that, and for a good part of it, we are their shield. We are the ones who chart the map, to so this is what needs to be, and of course those who are my seniors are like, Jesus, what would we do without our elders and our ancestors and stuff. So
For those
again,
who
I
weren't
guess
on
also
earlier in
this
the
is my also my
call,
way to be.
if you weren't on earlier in the call, Annette is actually in Cuba. So
Okay.
I think the lucha continua. It never stopped there in
That's
Cuba.
right. Never. Oh, tell me about it.
And either for us either, but
So
we got
again,
stupid. We
oh
rested
yeah,
and pretended that, and we should have never stopped fighting here either. We got duped into complicity, if you
that's right.
will.
May
Yeah,
I say
pretty
something, Ms.
much.
Higgins?
Yes, Miss Phyllis.
To sum up, I think that you have been divinely chosen to spearhead basically what is taking place, and that you are the gem of our group and groups that you associate yourself, and that I still believe the best is yet to come. And as far as Annette is concerned, I was in Europe in September, and even the waiters and waitress and just the room service, oh, they are all into who was going to take over here in America. They're very in tune and very, very much aware of how the US is going to affect them. So with that, let's all keep in divine guidance and listen within and believe, yes, we shall overcome. I've marched to that many times. We shall overcome, but we have to put a little twist in it for the 21st century.
Yep.
So with that, I'm going to sign out.
Yeah, it is getting late. We've been here a minute. We all need to sign out. I have not heard from Sonia. Miss Stanton, did you want to say something before we sign off? I know she sends these beautiful cards with in remembrance of her female relatives who've gone before her. So, Miss Stanton, I'm calling you out. You don't have to if you don't want to say something. And Denise, you've been quiet too. I didn't know if you wanted to say something. And Karen, you've been dropping stuff in the chats, but this is the last opportunity for you ladies to shout out if you choose to. I take that as a no. Karen signed off, so I know hers was a no. Miss
Helen,
Stanton.
I would just like to say that to keep our spirits up, we need to tune into whatever is going to help us get through it. I put some songs that's in my playlist, things that I go to depending on this time or the situation. So we may want to build our own playlist. And the other thing we talked about before is supporting Black businesses and various causes, like our sister in Cuba. You know, make our monies be intentional, because it ain't nothing but a money grab. And it's our money that's up for grabs. So we need to do something about how we spend it.
Exactly.
CJ, where are your people from? You notice your last name is Berry. That was my grandmother's maiden name.
That's my married name, Johnson, from Kingston.
No, CJ Berry.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's my married name. Barry is my married name. Maiden name's Johnson, from Kingston.
Okay, where is he from?
He's Ohio.
Okay, because my people are from Blakely, Georgia, and they live in Ohio too.
Big Berry family in that region.
Yeah. We're related to Halle Berry.
He's in the same family tree then.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Small world.
Yeah, it is a small. Whenever
So
I see
listen,
that,
ladies, we're gonna sign off now. I thank you all for coming. Those of you who can make it on Wednesday morning, that'll be our kickoff. And if any of you do mindfulness work or know somebody who does, please send them my way. I know nothing about doing it, so I'll rely on the contribution of others to make that our Wednesday gathering. If 6 o'clock in the morning is too early for you, let's talk about it. Someone had suggested perhaps doing it in the evening. I don't know. I was just thinking as a peaceful way to start your day before you head out. You know, that was my vision, but it doesn't have to be about what I think. Miss McCann, thank you for that wonderful compliment that you gave me. I don't know if it's a calling, but I do know that I've served a purpose in doing these calls every Sunday since 2020, almost every Sunday. So yeah, Denise, did you want to say something? I saw your phone light up.
Oh yeah, I want to say thank you for everything, Helen, that you done, and all the ladies and with their input. It was wonderful to hear all that. And if I tell my younger self, just be positive and do the right thing. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
That's true. Very basic advice. So anyway, ladies, keep this in mind. I'll see you Wednesday morning. Also note your calendars. If I had followed my plan and did what I was supposed to be, we would have left for Jamaica yesterday. And how perfect would that have been for us to not be here right now? But I didn't follow my plan because I had so much going on in my own life. I just couldn't juggle everything. So I am working with that agency to see if we can, during the week of January 19th through 25th, because that's the week of the dreadful inauguration. I'm looking to see if we can get out of Dodge and perhaps go to Jamaica, Panama. A friend is looking into Colombia, so mark your calendar, but we'll be going some damn where out of this country.
Panama.
Yeah, on the 25th. I about Panama. So my friend is I know Jamaica is very easy, right? Because it's just so much to do there and it's already laid out for us, right? And I've seen the hotel. The hotel is wonderful. It's right across the street from, a beach where they have their own bar and the whole bit. So That would be great. And I've been calling the lady since last week. She has not returned my call, so I reached out to a friend. Claudette, if you know anybody in Jamaica, let me know. I'm trying to find a hotel in Jamaica that and this hotel I like because it's nice and it's affordable. Some of the hotels there are just outrageous with the costs. And I mean, like really crazy. And I can't remember, like several hundred dollars per night for a room. It's ridiculous. But this hotel, Sea Gardens, is right there. It's close to the water. It's right across the street from the beach. And it's a full service
That
hotel.
works.
I stayed there back in the 90s, and the food was so god darn good you couldn't wait for the next meal. So I'm very comfortable staying at that hotel. But we'll see. But that's the plan. And then I have my friend Kia who lives in Colombia. She's looking at what we can do if we go to Colombia. But it just seems like we should be out the country at that moment and let them have their whatever they want to do. And you know, there was a group, Annette, that was coming to Cuba for the jazz festival, but in light of all that's happening, I don't know if that's gonna,
No,
yeah,
it's gonna
I don't
fly.
know. Yeah. So I think we shouldn't plan. I'm not gonna plan for that. I'm gonna move on and plan for something else. But I'm also gonna plan for us to do a cruise, in 2025. I was thinking spring, so we'll see. And you know what? Ellen put it in the chats earlier, and I wish I had said it out loud while more people were still on the call. Copy of your birth certificate in your glove compartment,
Yeah.
because you know, when they start harassing people,
Yeah.
especially where I am, you know, Black people are everywhere here, and they can just stop me just because I'm Black. Oh, I thought you were Haitian. I thought you were whatever. So I don't know if it will
Exactly.
matter,
Right.
but I am going to put a copy of my birth certificate in my glove compartment along with my driving. Like, leave me the hell alone. I mean, I don't know that it'll matter, but yeah. So somebody else had said that too. So let me start thinking of things.
I had a question before we go. What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do about that cop who killed that Air Forceman? They killed him in his own home, shot him in his own home. Are they gonna protest about that?
I don't know. So the cop who killed who?
A cop. He was a former Oklahoma City police chief. He came to Florida and he killed this man. He knocked on the door, and the serviceman asked him 2 times, "Who is it?" He couldn't see him, so he opened the door. He was talking on the phone to his girlfriend, and he opened the door, and the sheriff, he pulled his gun out because he's military, and the white sheriff shot him, killed him on the spot.
And you in Vietnam tell me something I don't even know, and I'm here in
That happened in
Florida.
Florida. Yeah, that happened in Florida. So what I was saying is, are they going to what I was asking, are they going to protest that? Because that man was dead wrong. But the
I
neighbors say
don't
that
know.
it is domestic violence.
I don't know, Ellen. It's the first time I'm even hearing of it, and I'm hearing, but I don't watch TV. So unless somebody
Oh,
tells me
yeah.
stuff, I don't know.
Yeah, I
So
saw this on
if there is a protest, I'm not aware of it. There should be, but you know, and that's another thing, our First Amendment right. You know, while people were so focused on the Second Amendment with guns rights and all that stuff, nobody was looking at the First Amendment. That's the one that we are. That's the one that's being sacrificed or compromised. You know, the right to assemble.
Slavery.
And I'm sure they're gonna make it illegal for you to protest. They're probably going to say that it's illegal to videotape police officers. I mean, we have no idea what these people are about but the things that we've just taken for granted, I think, are very much in jeopardy. So for those people who, you know, I applaud Miss Rachel, she's gone, but I don't know that I could be so cordial to a Trumpster. And I love where I'm seeing on the news where people are disinviting family members for Thanksgiving. Like, we don't want you here. Yeah, I mean, that was, you know, one guy, he's a gay guy, and he showed all these expensive gifts that he had bought for his family members that he was returning. Because he was like, if you don't care about my well-being, why would I give you gifts?
Wow,
And that's how I
exactly.
feel. If in fact you call yourself my friend, how are you supporting um, a regime that is instrumental in my demise? I just don't. You don't like me. You don't like me. You don't care about me as a person. So I can't go there with you. So
People are filing
yeah.
for divorce.
Yeah, that one person, their thing went viral. He said he's begging his wife to give him. Be like, I can't believe we're gonna do you. He said he couldn't believe she got divorce papers that quickly.
That quickly, exactly.
It's something
Now
else
you
to
know.
it. I had
It's
four
like
and a half
a
years. Yeah,
character.
it's
It's
something
a
more to
character
it.
flaw. It's a
Right,
frigging character flaw. And it's not like we haven't been here before. We know the history, right?
right.
Doesn't matter. So
Mm.
anyway,
Uh,
ladies, on that note, I love you all, but I'm hungry. It's 7:19 here and I'm gonna
It's
go. Miss
7:19 here too in
Levine,
the morning.
7:19 in the morning.
Yes. you you know how much love you to get up at 4 a.m. and stay here to
I appreciate I was wondering how long this conversation was gonna go. I just let it go because I felt like people needed to express themselves. So for if this is your first time here, none of you are, but we don't always go this long. Although when we first started during the pandemic, we did. We absolutely did. And you know what? We might be back at
Right.
the same place because at the pandemic, at the
Yes.
time of the pandemic, we needed each other and we came together every Sunday, and it was certainly a place of healing. And we might need that place of healing again. So I don't know how many people are going to show up for a 6 a.m. call, and I'm going to guess it's something that will catch on. But I'll drop the link this evening before I go to bed, and please share it with whoever. And Black women only. Somebody said, "Why not the men?" And I don't have a problem with that. But again, we're when Black women gather, so I think we need to stick to that theme for this. And we'll take it from there. All right, my folks.
I'm done. Love
Yes,
everyone.
Miss Levine, I will drop this. I'll send you guys also when I post this on YouTube, I'll send it to you so you'll get it. You can watch it and take away whatever gems that you want from it.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Miss Jones, good night.
Good night.
Good
Good night. Good night.
Night.
Have a good one,
And
everybody.
Sister Sanchez, good night, my friend. Thank you so much for coming. Claudette,
You for your
it's
invitation.
bye. Denise, thank you guys. I love you.
All right, Helen. Have a good evening. We'll be in
Yes.
touch. Good night,
night.
ladies.
Bye night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.